saying, I started back in, and I've been here this many, I'm not going to say that. I started.
Did you write some of the postcards?
I started.
He doesn't get a
No more pebbles for you. I teach two of his children, however, this way. My name is Carole Waelchli. That's Carole with an E, and I'm not going to try to spell Waelchli. I teach math and science in the upper school, and every other year I'm the Latin teacher for the high school. This year is a French year. This year's science courses are earth science for the 7th and 8th grade and physical science for the high school. The math courses are Algebra 1 for 8th grade and Advanced Algebra, or Algebra 2, for 9 and 10. Math and science go together. The children don't always like to think that because some students really like science and have a hard time with math. But math and science are sort of like peanut butter and jelly or cookies and cream. Why? Let me just read you a paragraph from a magazine that I just got today. It's Science News. It's a magazine for people that need to keep up on what's going on in science. It's a weekly publication, and science changes right out from under you if you're not careful. So let me just read this, why math and science go together. It says, discover the mathematics of the world around you. How do you explain the infinite forces at work in a black hole? I read this to the students. How do atoms move? How do we know that the universe is expanding? How do those swimsuits that all the winners were wearing at last year's Olympics make for faster times? These are science questions, and they all ask how. And that's what science is for, to tell us how. Remember, religion tells us why, science tells us how. But how does science tell us how? Any guesses?
Math.
Math! Oh, I love you. It's by means of numbers. It's by mathematics, exactly. And physical science, the course that the 9th and 10th graders are taking, is the ultimate how course. It endeavors to explain the Lord's creation, how the Lord's creation works. Everything that was created is either matter or energy. I'm glad Chuck went home. Always a little, about making broad statements. Physical science considers both matter and energy. We do an in-depth study of the periodic table, which is matter to the nth degree, literally looking at matter very close up. And we study the forces that affect matter, which is energy, of course. Motion, gravity, electromagnetism, how basic machines work. And what we see in this study of how creation works is first and foremost order, the Lord's order. And where does this order come from? Any guesses? It's math. Oh, you're great. It's mathematics. The Lord has to be a mathematician. When you think about it, it's a miracle. It really is that we can figure out how the universe works and put it into formula with numbers in it. If Albert Hainsworth, who weighs about 300 pounds, I think, which translates into a fairly hefty mass, came barreling down the length of FedEx Field at about 8 miles per hour, which would translate into about 12 feet per second. Anything that he runs into is going to feel a force of 3,600 foot-pound seconds. I guess that's what they pay him for. Anyhow, why? How? Well, because momentum equals mass times velocity. It's numbers. Your SUV, the tires. If you, in July, checked the tire pressure, got the manual out, and got them all exactly to the right pressure, everything exactly the way it should be, and then neglected to check or look at them until the following spring, you drove through the winter probably with those tires, maybe not dangerous, but close to being dangerously underinflated. Why? Well, because pressure is directly proportional to temperature. P equals K, some constant, times T. Again, it's numbers. As the temperature goes up, the pressure increases. Temperature goes down, the pressure goes down. It's all math. And gravity, I love this one. Gravity obeys something called the inverse square law. That says that the force of gravity between two objects is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between the two. Now that's a lot simpler than it sounds. I'm about 2 meters. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name.
Darren.
Darren. Okay. Oh, I know your son, Darren, too. Okay. All right, I'm about 2 meters from Darren. This says that the gravitational attraction between us is inversely, that's 1 over, proportional to the distance between us. Okay, I judge we're about 2 meters apart. So the force of gravity would be 1 over the square of 2, which is 1/4 what it would have been had I been 1 meter away. That's all. If I back up to 3 meters, now it's inversely. Inverse is 1 over. 1 over 3 squared, which is 1/9. The inverse square law. But the point I'm trying to make isn't that law. It's how marvelous. We know that law. We figured it out, and we can talk about gravity in terms of numbers. Why? How? Why should this be so? We seem to be able to explain just about everything that happens in the physical world by laws involving numbers. The Lord has to be a mathematician. I tell my students in my algebra class when they say, why do we have to learn this? Because this is how everything works. And how everything works is exactly what we try to study in physical science in the high school, 9th and 10th grade. It's a laboratory course. We work with density, pressure, friction, gravity, motion, chemical and physical change, acids, bases, alkali metals, halogens, and most of the other families in the periodic table. The periodic table. Periodic table. It's a tablet. If you would like one of these later, I'll leave it. Please feel free to take one. Each of your children, if they have me for science, has one of these in their notebook. 7, 8, 9, or 10 grades. The periodic table is one of the most marvelous pieces of knowledge that we have. The insight that the Lord has allowed into His creation that's captured in this one piece of paper it's beyond belief to me. There's all of creation on one piece of paper if you really can understand it, which I can't, but I can see just enough of it to see how much there really is there. But the Lord has let us see this. All right, anyhow. Think about the insight that the Lord has allowed us into the manner of His creation. All the matter that the Lord has created has to be one of the elements listed here. And they're listed, if you look carefully, according to what's called atomic number. Starting with 1, 2, and they go right up to some of the ones that we're trying to create now. But atomic number. Atomic. Who's ever seen an atom? How do we know there are atoms? Nobody's ever seen an atom. And yet atomic theory, it works. How does it work? Well, this is one of the things that we look at, the how, in physical science. The other science course that I teach is earth science for the 7th and 8th grade. And some of you are parents of 7th and 8th graders. I said in the letter that I sent out, that I sent to the science class parents every year at the beginning, that this is one of my very favorite courses to teach. Because in this course we can see so clearly the Lord's purpose in creation fulfilled. We begin with creation in this course. We're studying this right now, as a matter of fact. We've considered 5 or 6 different theories that might explain how the universe came into being, and have decided that the Lord used the Big Bang to create the universe because that seems to explain everything that we can observe about it better than the other theories. We've just completed a project on the 4 forces that emerged. Next week we're starting a project illustrating the Big Bang itself. But once we have the universe in hand and fixed, We will go on to the birth and death of stars, the creation of the galaxies, the solar system, and then in very great detail, the Earth itself. We trace the development of life on Earth from its first very primitive forms, which were bacteria, which appeared very early, much earlier than most people think in the life of the Earth. In the life of the Earth, life arose very early. Influx. The minute there was a situation on the Earth that could harbor the beginnings of life, the influx, it took a whole, anyhow, that's another story, I'm sorry. But we trace the beginnings, from the very beginnings, bacteria, through the ages of the Earth, and we watch the development of the Earth to the emergence of what we consider the highest form of life on Earth. Yes?
Human being.
Human beings, Homo sapiens, which was a blink of the eye ago, as far as the life of the Earth is concerned. We observed how the development of life is so closely tied to what's actually happening to the Earth itself. Ice ages, meteoric collisions, tectonic movements, continents colliding, all of them have a severe effect, wiping out some species, helping other species, but having a very profound effect on life as it developed here on the Earth. And in the process of looking at how life develops, we study, of course, the geology and the tectonics and the rocks and the minerals and the oceans and ocean currents and weather and everything, hopefully, everything that has to do with Earth. A statement of the Lord's purpose in creation can be found in several places in the writings of Emanuel Swedenborg. But my favorite is a passage from the Arcana Celestia, Heavenly Secrets, number 9441. That says, God created the universe in order that there might be mankind, so that there might be a heaven from the human race. That was God's purpose, a heaven from the human race of people. No other course of study illustrates this so clearly and so beautifully as earth science does, seeing the path to man. And it's my hope that each student in the class will see how the Lord's plan is unfolding as we move through a study of the ages of the Earth. In conclusion, I want to welcome all of the new parents, all of the parents, of course, but especially the new parents. It's very nice to see you here. But most of you are parents of younger children. Please don't feel that you have to have a student in my class in order to come into the high school room. It's a great place. It really is. It's full of rocks and minerals and fossils. We've got a tesseract. We've got a Moebius strip. We've got a Klein bottle. We've got not Bunsen burners, butane burners. We've got George. George is coming. We've got microscopes. We've got triple beam balances. And George is our skeleton about town. And we've got Horatio, whom last year's students described, I think very aptly, as a head case. There's always an experiment set up. The remains of one are on the table in the room right now. And the best part of the high school room is the students. We have a wonderful high school this year. We really do. Every year I say that, but this is a very good group. And those young people would be more than happy to welcome you, to show you around, to answer any questions that you new parents might have. So please drop in. The high school door is always open. Thank you. And again, welcome.